How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? Some more. Oh, okay. There's never a dull moment when it comes to President Trump. He has been in office for almost what, 3 months, and it seems like 3 years. Okay, me making sure everything is working. Live streaming on YouTube and Rumble. I was just simply going to just do Rumble, but I thought, let me go ahead and do YouTube too, because I'm phasing out YouTube and moving towards Rumble. Because YouTube, it's too many problems. It's just too much.
I voted no because we're lying to the
Okay.
American people. Both sides of the
And it's just really too much trouble. I mean, just the things which you have to go through.
blame it on tax policy and then ignore spending on
Okay.
market sailors. And on
Okay, I'm just waiting for this to kick through.
our watch,
All right, now.
noted in history for my tenure in the House of Representatives,
Now, with Trump, what he has done was he has removed the Anti-Segregation Act back in 1965. Actually, it went before that. And that was to provide protections to Black Americans from white people that were racist. Now, the interesting part is that it was based in the South, because after the Civil War, there was something called the Black Codes. Now, I remember talking to my grandmother, and okay. All right. Okay, everything's working now. I remember talking to my grandmother, and she worked at Lewis Mountain in Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. And she worked there in 1945, no, 46 to 47. And Lewis Mountain was a Black only mountain. Then the other mountain was white only. Now the thing was that Black people couldn't go on the white only mountain. Nah, that didn't happen. But white people could come on the Black only mountain. Now my grandmother, she was saying, was when they cooked food, you could smell it all over. And then the white people would leave the mountain and then go to the Black only mountain, Lewis Mountain. Right, Mom?
I don't remember.
That's what Grammy said.
I don't remember that.
Oh. She said it, and then she said how she would walk around. Lewis Mountain had this this kind of circle thing, and then she would walk around a circle because, back at that time, she was saying how it was difficult because she lived in DC. So it was difficult. And, people had their views, their ways, and how they believe people should be treated. And, back at that time, I mean, Black people did fight back. If there was some injustice, they would, give up 1 2 1 2. But now 2025, Trump's saying we don't need those laws anymore. My thing is this: I'm all for it. Bring it. I'm all for it, right? I'm all for it. So imagine this. Just imagine this, because we Gen X and younger are not like baby boomers in a silent generation. We're not. We're like, hey, if you want to give the BS, we'll give it right back. So if you have white only restaurants and you exclude everybody else, which, look, racism doesn't pay dividends. Just understand it. It doesn't pay dividends. You're not going to get a good return on your investment. You're not. You're going to be in a welfare line getting food stamps. What is the EBT card? And maybe a check. All right. But just imagine this. And let's say you have some people who have that mindset. who were like, hey, I don't want anybody but white people here. And you can have that. It's all about merit. Well, I'm gonna get the merit base. And you're allowed to. It's your restaurant, your hotel, your store, your school, your pool, whatever it is, that is yours. And you say white only. Now, it's not going to be to where you can say white only and then you can go to the black establishments. No, that's not going to happen. If you're openly discriminating and say, well, I don't want you here, then when you have everybody but white, or everybody but Asian, whatever the person's thing is, Asians only, Latino only, whatever it is, your business is not going to do well, and you won't be able to, like I said earlier about my grandmother, it, black people could not go to the white establishment or the white mountain, but white people could come over to Lewis Mountain. They were allowed to do that. They had no restrictions. So just imagine the restrictions. If they pull that, they're going to have restrictions, and those restrictions will be upheld. That's going to be interesting. Very interesting. Hospitals, I mean, all the way down to the very up throughout any facet of life. You can say white only, black only, whatever, whatever, whatever. And the interesting part is that now the law, or black codes, will be reinforced the opposite way. Yeah, black codes. Well, why not call them white codes or Latino codes or Asian codes? Codes. Okay. Oh, how you doing, Vaughn? How's it going? Okay, maybe ban orange people from being president. Okay. And Samala, oh, I'm sorry, messing up your name. So yellow first, red. Okay. All right. But let's imagine it. Now, back then, let me see, my grandmother was born 1921. And she, used to say how, because black people, as you would drive down south, were not allowed to go into what do you call it? White restaurants. And sometimes there was a great distance to where there may not they may not have a black restaurant, or then they would go to people's houses to go eat. But what they would do, like whenever my grandfather would travel, he would my grandmother, would make food and put it in like a shoebox. And so shoebox, aluminum foil, whatever it was, and to make sure that he had enough food to get down there where he was going and then back up. But that's what it was, the black coats. And it did exist. And Donald Trump is saying the United States is progressive enough to where we don't need that law. People aren't racist anymore, and if they are, there's not enough racist people to make a dent. Let me see. Vaughn says my town still has sundown. Where are you at? And yeah, there are sundown towns. They still exist. You still, I would be lying if I said that they didn't exist. They do exist. And from my understanding, it's more so over on the West Coast. Some people are saying Oregon, Washington State. Is that where you're at, Vaughn? Let me see. Let me check. Okay. All right. I'm just checking on my other on Rumble. I'm on Rumble too. Now, this is what I see. This is what I see. Now, and look, you're gonna beat up on me, fine, go right ahead. But I got a funny feeling that this right here may not be. Oh, Southern Illinois is about a half hour away from say, yeah, 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 yeah. um, I have a funny feeling, and this is just within me, because I've noticed that ever since this election, um, there has been a lot of gnashing of the teeth. I mean, people have been having full conniptions, just going absolutely berserk. Keep in mind, I was a lifelong Democrat, and I see some wild stuff. Now, within that wild stuff, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, I don't even, I can't even put a word to it. I mean, it's really wild. People are unhinged. Now, Black Americans have always been on the bottom, or the last hired, the first fired. And to see the level of people getting fired. Now, I have never seen the government, because the government has never, ever done anything to this magnitude to help Black Americans. So people are saying that Trump's a racist. Look, Trump is an equal opportunity abuser. He abuses everyone. It just so happens that Black Americans are not being abused. They're not. It's like everybody else, everybody else is getting it. And I'm just looking around shocked. I really am. I'm looking around shocked, and I'm like, wow. I mean, you see people in a government, and do you know how hard it is to fire a government employee? It is next to impossible to fire someone. Next to impossible. But he's just firing left and right. And I hear some Black people saying, "Oh my God, a couple of Black people got fired." I'm like, did you see all those people get fired? Everybody, look, the Rainbow Coalition got fired. Everybody got fired. But those three Black people, I'm like, okay, three Black people got fired, but do you notice how everyone else? Do you notice how the government and city council people and representatives and senators are coming out saying, "Oh no, Trump, you can't do that." All of a sudden, you have all these judges coming out of the woodworks. "Oh no, Trump, you can't do that. I mean, you have to give a reason." He did. He said, "You're fired." And I'm just like, as a content creator, I'm not looking at it as black or white. No, I'm not looking at it as haves, haves not. No, I'm looking at it as pure content. And if you take a step back and you're looking at it from that perspective, you can see a lot more than just Black people, white people, Asian people, this, that. No, you see it as a whole. Now, as I'm looking at it, and it's easy to say, "Oh, Trump is a racist." Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Trump is a racist. Look how he's doing that. Oh, he's over there. He's messing with the LGBTQ community. Oh, and they're a protective class, and he's messing with them, and they're a protective class, and he's messing with them. They're a protective class. Oh, and yeah, forget about those Black people. Forget about them. But then when you just really just take a step back and just look at it on the whole level, he's knocking the kingdom down. He's knocking it down to where he's doing things that other politicians said that they would do but didn't have the guts to do it. He is doing something that Barack Obama said, this needs to be done. George Bush said, "Oh, the Junior says this needs to be done." What's his name? Biden said, "Well, this really needs to be done." But Trump is like, "Look, I know it needs to be done, and I'm going to do it." And as I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at how he has taken away affirmative action. No, he didn't. That was the Supreme Court. DEI is gone, and now taking this, the anti-segregation, and he's stripping everything away. And I'm like, okay, so then it's going to be pure merit based. Now you have some people saying, well, that there's going to be some racism in it. You know that it's going to benefit white men. You know it's going to benefit white men because all these jobs, everything is going to benefit white men, and then they're going to have white only sections, white only hospitals, white this, white that. Okay. And let's say, for instance, that does happen. Let's say it does. Do you think that other communities or other people do not have education to where they could build their own communities? Huh? There are people that in the Black community have teachers, lawyers, doctors, engineers, civil engineers, pharmacists, any and everything you need for a community to prosper. It's not just white. You have Asian places to where you can have your everything. Jewish people have theirs. Then Latinos, they have theirs. So let's say that does happen. Let's say just for kicks. Let's say it does happen. Let's say it does people fall into their racism. Let's say white people say, "Oh, well, okay, I'm going back to being racist again. I don't have to be nice to anybody that's not my color. I have the right, and I'm going to use my right, and I'm going to let these people know that they are underneath me. I am better than them." Right? Let's say they do it. And then for a second, you're going to have those people who are like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do? Oh my God. Oh my God." Right? And then somebody's going to take them by their neck and say, "Look, stop it. We can build. We can build over here. We can do what we need to do over here. We don't have to depend on the government. We don't. We can build for ourselves." Then when other communities start building up their own communities, then what happens? Economics. Then you're going to see, and if this right here is what some white people are going to choose to practice racism, they're going to realize that racism doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't pay dividends. It doesn't. Because then you're going to have to get those white people who are like, "Well, I'm down with the cause. Yes, I'm buying over there." No, you have a great number of white people that like ethnic food, right? They like ethnic food, and they're going to go over to Indian restaurants because they're going to have signs saying, "Hey, everybody's welcome." And then you're going to have other Latino restaurants. "Hey, everybody's welcome." You're going to have everybody over there. And then you have white people that say, "Oh, white only." Well, that's all you're going to have. And everybody else is going to be over there. And you're going to have maybe 2 or 3, maybe 10 white people over there. And if they do come by to go get a soda because they're thirsty, to go to the other restaurants or the other establishments, whatever it may be. So if that does occur, I just don't see it lasting long. I see it collapsing quick. And then those people who have that mindset are going to say, "Okay, well, let me go ahead and jump on where everybody else is because I'm here by myself looking stupid." Just my thought as a content creator. Now, some people will say, "Hey, politics with Laura, what's wrong with you?" you know, You know, white people are racist. What are you talking about? You know, white people are racist, 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 racist. And if they have blonde hair, blue eyes, they're extra racist. Okay. And if they are, then what? As long as you feel the way you feel, as long as you don't put action to that. My thing is this: if you don't want black people around, or if you don't want Asian people, you have that right. You have that right. You're not going to make a lot of money off of it. I don't see hospitals being filled up. I don't see people, you know, you're like, I don't want you in my pharmacy. Fine. Okay, go get medicine. Same medicine going over there. I don't want you in my pool. Okay, fine. I could go head on over there. The United States has, in my opinion, it has progressed. Now, here's the little zing. This is a little zing here. Okay, even though we have progressed, and we have. Now, we have a lot of people from other countries, more so than back in the 60s. Back in the 60s, it was more so black and white, and you have some Asians and some Eastern Europeans, not Indo-Asian. Oh my goodness, I'm having an old people's moment. um, you had Indians coming in, but it wasn't such as a large number back then. But in the 1960s is when the door flung open and many people start coming in. Now, there are a lot of people who have migrated from other places. Like right now, we have like what, 11 million people who are waiting to not only come in, but also get citizenship. There's a lot of folks, a lot of people. Now, it all depends on their mindset. Now, here's the kicker. Here's the kicker, all right? Now, if what people are saying is true, saying that if you remove the Anti-Segregation Act, if you abolish it, right, and people coming in that have that pro-white attitude, right, and you're darker than I am, oh my goodness, your whole paradigm is going to fall flat, and then you may want to, you know, seek some help, because what you have believed and how you're going to come to the United States and be white, and you're going to get white privilege and everything else, and Donald Trump rips this off, and then you come and all of a sudden, no, you can't come over here, you can't do this, you can't do that because you're not white. Well, wait a minute. In my country, I'm white. I'm Caucasian. On what planet? You don't have the phenotypes. You're not. It's going to be very interesting. But that's just me as a content creator, just looking at it from all different angles. Looking at it not only as a Black American woman, but I can say, okay, let me step out of this and let me look at it. I was going to say on a mountaintop. I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to look at the horizon and see how it would affect everyone, because it all boils down to one thing: economics. That's it, economics. That's all what it boils down to. And one thing that money is it's green. It's green. And it's going to be an interesting reality. Very interesting. It is. But let me go ahead. I've done enough talking. Let me just go into the little bits of it, to what they're saying. Now, here, this came out yesterday. Is segregation legal now? But Florida Attorney General, Florida's attorney says Trump sends a clear message. Let me make sure that you all can see it too. Let me share my screen. Let me share my screen. Come on. All right. And I don't know how many articles I'm going to show. I'm not quite sure. But here. Is this? Uh-oh. I can't play the music. Okay, here the key points. I like newspapers that break things down into points and then goes into the article. It says the Trump administration rescinds the requirement for a new government contract that explicitly prohibits segregation in facilities like restaurants and waiting rooms. And in case if you don't know, restaurants, waiting rooms, pools, bathrooms, water fountains, hospitals, all the way down the line, anything that you're able to use to go in and patronize, then it will have to be black or white. Now it's going to have how do they put it? White or non-white. I don't know how they're going to do. It's going to be something crazy. Okay, while segregation remained legal under the U.S. law, critics argue that removing the explicit prohibition sends a message intolerance and discrimination. I mean, they're just throwing that out there. You don't even know. This moves in part as a broader effort by the Trump administration to roll back the diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI program across the federal government. So here, the Trump administration no longer requires the explicit prohibition of segregated facilities such as restaurants, waiting rooms, drinking fountains, and the new government contract, according to February memo from the U.S. Service Administration, the GSA. The act repeals a 60-year-old executive order signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson. The memo states that the contractors are still subject to law under the civil rights, and the non-discrimination and segregation remains legal under the U.S. law. But Florida's civil rights attorney general Benny, okay, in his post on X, that is, changes send a clear message. Since taking office for the second term, President Donald Trump has waged war on diversity inclusion programs in the federal government. The GSA, or the General Service Agency, or whatever, memo was in response to one of his day one executive orders titled "Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunities in the Federal Government." That is his only target. Now, some of you may say, well, I mean, he says merit-based, but no, he doesn't mean merit-based, right? There's just code or dog whistle for, it's really going to be racist. But if you look at DEI, if you look at affirmative action, if you look at the way they were supposed to be implemented, they weren't implemented the way they were supposed to, and that was to help Black Americans become equal to whites. And if you look at who benefited from these programs, it really wasn't Black Americans, it was white women. Now, white women have been fighting with white men for a long while, because they were not, white women were not being treated equally as to white men. And white men is like, hey, I'm out there, working, and I'm trying to, do this and trying to run a government and try whatever what you want to put in there. The white women are like, hey, I am oppressed. I don't have equal pay. I don't have any of those things. So they added race and gender, sexual orientation that had nothing to do with black people coming out of slavery, or to make black people equal to whites. No, at all. But that was placed in there. I don't know. I don't know why. And of course, you're gonna get mad at me, but it was Democrats that did that. For what reason? I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I mean, people can speculate, but it is what it is. But now that Donald Trump saying we don't need that. We don't. We're better than that. We have moved past that, right? All right. So here, since taking office for his second term, okay, I already read that. Now here, then he says this week, the University of South Florida was informed it is under investigation alleging it violated the Civil Rights Act of 1964 by promoting and participating in programs funded by Florida's Education Fund, FEF, a theft, that award scholarships to Hispanic or Black applicants. The discrimination on the base of race, color, and national origin will not be tolerated, the letter said, referring to the growing movement that believers boosting the minorities as a way to address their historic discrimination of oppression and promoting more justice for the more just society is itself discriminatory. Trump has made his beliefs a cornerstone of the new presidency, and here is what to know. Oh man, I meant to take that off. Okay. And it goes on. Let me see. There was something else I wanted to show, but okay, here. Although the Emancipation Proclamation made enslaved people free, after the Civil War, Southern states passed laws known as the Black Codes that strictly limited where Black people were allowed to work and live. So-called Jim Crow laws that prohibited Black people from using white schools, residential areas, public parks, theaters, cemeteries, and right now there's one right out right outside of DC. Oh my goodness, what is it called? Bethesda, Maryland. There was this Black cemetery, and that part it was filled with only people, descendants of slaves were buried there. Now they're trying to just mow it over and get rid of it and start building on there. And there has been a fight, and I need to get more information on it. And it's a mess. It is a complete mess. But let me go ahead and finish. Okay, cemeteries and segregation into policy. Pools, bathrooms, restaurants, drinking fountains were labeled whites only. And Congress passed a law in 1875 outlawing discrimination, but it was overturned by the Supreme Court in 1883. The court came back 13 years later to rule in Plessy versus Ferguson, segregation was constitutional, establishing that the idea of separate but equal, separate but unequal. And that was the reasons why for the 1965 civil rights was to correct Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal. No. And that's why you have affirmative action and DEI to right that wrong. And then, okay. For over the century, Black people faced systematic barriers in housing to keep themselves them out of good neighborhoods. Housing Act of 1949 to help U.S. citizens address the housing shortage after World War II was explicitly limited to white people. The GI Bill wasn't, but getting benefits for Black soldiers wasn't until was an uphill battle. And, it is what it is, right? But Black people who found success despite obstacles or tried to vote were targeted. Florida had the highest number of lynchings per capita in the first half of the 20th century, with violent attacks by mobs of white men devastated Black communities. In what is it? Oakey and Rosewood, Carverville in Miami was bombed in 1951. Harry and Harriet Moore were killed in a bombing on Christmas Eve in Nims that year. Jim Crow laws prevailed along with the sundown towns where Black people were allowed to work inside the city but had to leave before nightfall. Now, how many of you who are Gen Xers remember? How many of you remember that that you had to be in the house when the lights or the street lights came on? How many of you? Because I know I had to. And I lived up north. I grew up north. Okay, let me bring that back on. Okay, when did segregation end in the United States? Well, the civil rights movement faced strong resistance but made significant strides. The Supreme Court in 1954 decision of Brown versus Board of Education ended segregation in public schools, sparking a widespread outrage. Rosa Parks, arrested in 1955 for refusing to give up her bus seat on a white man led the organization to protest and diner sit-ins, including one of the first ones in Jacksonville and Woolworths, right here. Leaders like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. advocated for civil rights, organizing marches, voters registration drives, protests around the South, including Florida. A growing nationwide protest and news of the act of violence against Black people led the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which made segregation and discrimination on the basis of race illegal. However, discrimination persists in hiring, wages, and real estate, and many white families opting for private or homeschooling and to avoid integrating schools. Black people were incarcerated at rates far out of the proportion of their populations. What is DEI? And now I already told you what it was, but let's see what they say. The following Civil Rights Act, many educational institutions began offering scholarships limited to people of color to provide a hand up to a community that was kept out for so long. Now, this right here, I have to say I have a problem with, because the people who were kept out of education were Black Americans, but that's going to be for another video. Let me just stick with this. Some companies began hiring programs designated to make their workforce more diverse. Eventually, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs were developed to make sure everyone, especially groups that have historically been underrepresented and discriminated against, receives fair treatment, and that the difference that are embraced to improve the relationships and teamwork and increase cultural sensitivity. And the multinational consultants firms of McKinsey and Company reported that the companies that are diverse, equitable, and inclusive are better able to respond to challenges when a top talent and meet the needs of many customer bases. Now, I gotta say this. Let me just get this off my chest. All right. Now, this article took a turn, right? Because it was talking about how Jim Crow, how Black people were treated, this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden, you bring everybody else in it when it wasn't for everyone else. It was only strictly for Black Americans. But however, everybody else did get something out of it. Now, most people, a lot of Black people, are like, it didn't benefit me anyway. I'm glad it's gone. That's what. And this is why you see people going berserk, because whom it was meant to be for, they didn't get it. And now now those individuals who did benefit from it, now it's being taken away. Now, like I said, as a content creator, I'm looking at it at the whole thing, right? And this article is taking twists and turns. I'm just like, man, they're just trying their very best. They're trying their very best. But however, wait a minute, is there anything else to that article? But however, I think this is going to be good. Okay, let me go ahead and show you this. Let me give you this one last part, and then I'm going to continue on. Okay, here, the education DEI typically refer to strategic policies and practices that provide all students equal access to education opportunities, regardless of their background, identity, and abilities. Okay. All right, I'm going to leave that one alone. Okay. Critics claim DEI programs prioritize a candidate's diverse race, ethnicity, and gender to the exclusion of a more qualified candidate, and treat them as anti-white, anti-male, ideologically driven policies that serve the racial discrimination against white Americans. This is going to get really interesting. Supporters of any anti-DEI advocates believe only white men are capable and intelligent intelligent, and assumes all women and people of color, no matter how qualified they are in the position of power due to quotas. They warn that the rollback threatens to reverse all progress minorities have made in the workplace over the past 6 decades. Now, keep in mind at the beginning, they're talking about Black folks being discriminated against and Black codes and this, that, and the other. And then it sort of flips to women and people of color. Now, women and people of color did not go through what Black people went through, but they're benefiting. And now they're like, but it's going to mess everybody up. I mean, it's going to be horrible, you know. So this is the reason why, you know, Black people are like, so, okay, anti-segregation, okay, fine. All right. But here, is Trump legalizing segregation? Watch. Another twist. Let's watch. Segregation remains illegal. But since his first day of office, Trump has worked to eliminate diversity programs and government evidence that people of color, women who are LGBTQ, have struggled against oppression and systematic discrimination. Okay. In Trump's inaugural speech, he vowed to combat efforts to socially engineer race, gender, and every aspect of public and private life, and forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. On day one, Trump issued an executive order calling for the elimination of all federal DEI programs and employees, and asked federal employees to report an effort to disguise diversity program by using codes in imprecise language, with penalties for people who do not. Trump assigned a similar executive order telling the Federal Aviation Administration to stop the use of DEI in hiring practices, and saying, without evidence, that the agency betrayed its mission by elevating dangerous discrimination over excellence. I wonder if he's talking about the accident over the Potomac River, between the helicopter and the plane. That was something. Okay. The Office of Personnel Management sent out a memo on January 21st directing all agencies to take down all outward facing media of diversity and inclusion offices. Trump threatened to, let me see, anybody asking any questions? Okay, no. Okay, Trump threatened to investigate companies with DEI programs and ordered federal agencies to provide a list of companies to investigate. Trump revoked the Equal Employment Opportunity Executive Order that signed by Lyndon B. Johnson in 1965 to ensure equal opportunity for minorities. And minorities wasn't a phrase until 1980s. I mean, it's just the okay. For minorities, and directed federal contractors to take affirmative action to stop discrimination at their firms as a pledge to create racial equality. The 1965 order, now deleted from the Department of Labor's website, can be here seen. The Justice Department issued a freeze on the civil rights litigation. The Trump administration's froze litigation and is considering arrangements negotiating to overhaul local police departments, including those from high-profile fatal incidents involving law enforcement, such as the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, the killing of Breonna Taylor in Louisville, and the beating death of Tyree Nichols in Memphis that sparked a national protest. Okay, under Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Identity Month celebration, such as Black History Month, were canceled. Interesting. References to a notable Black people, Hispanic people, Native American women, and LGBTQ people have been scrubbed from the website from the Department of Defense and the military branches and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Arlington National Cemetery, and more. In some of the cases, keyword searches used to flag content cast too wide of a net, and unrelated items such as photos of Enola Gay and the B-29 bomber that dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima were tagged for removal. Other educational resources and references to celebrated soldiers, such as the Tuskegee Airmen, Major General Charles Gavin Rogers, the highest ranking Black soldier to receive the Medal of Honor, ball player Jackie Robinson, and the Navajo code talkers were restored after public outcry. On March 20th, Trump signed an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education created in 1979 during the Carter administration to identify federal education programs under the roof of to ensure equal access to a quality education for all students. Trump said that funding for the low income and marginalized students would continue, but the department had already had ordered to cease all DEI related programs, curriculums, and admissions for hiring policies, or face a loss of funding. So more than 1,300 education department employees were fired last week as a part of the administration's Department of Government Efficiencies under the guidance of mega billionaire Elon Musk. Oh man. Okay, it goes on. It goes on. But I have to say, as a content creator, I have to say, it's good for content. Okay. Wait a minute. I know that sounds self-serving and terrible, right? It sounds self-serving and terrible. But however, if we don't talk about this, and I'm just simply giving a perspective, not necessarily my perspective, but a perspective. And we can sort of talk about it and see what your perspective is. Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think Trump should get rid of the Anti-Segregation Act? Do you think that we have progressed far enough as a people, not a group of people, but a people, to say, okay, we may have some racist people, we may have some, but there are more people that are not racist to where we can do this. How many of you think that we have moved far enough as a people to where the United States doesn't need an anti-segregation act? You want to put something down? Do you think we have progressed, or do you think we still need these protections? Let me take a look on Rumble and all right. What are your thoughts? Now, me, I think, and I don't know if I'm being a Buddhist about it. Okay, not. I mean the middle of the road. Whenever, I usually say Buddhist, meaning a middle of the road. I think that by being in the middle of the road, that it whether if it goes either way, it's fine. Because let's say that it flips and all of a sudden all these racist people come out of nowhere. It's like, I'm racist. I can finally come in. I can say what I want to say. We don't want you around here. We want to stay here and forget about you. So, you go on over there. Fine. Go ahead and build. Just that simple. But it's going to be economically detrimental to them, because keep in mind, let me see, Black Americans spend trillions of dollars every year. And then that right there, okay, for Black Americans, that would be a good thing. Okay, because then all the money would stay within Black American communities, and then there would be like Black Wall Streets all over the United States, as it was back in the early 1900s. I mean, the money was flowing. It was like, we don't want you here, and fine. And then you had a bunch of millionaires and well-to-do communities. And then you had white people like, wait a minute. Check out the movie Rosewood. Just check it out. Check out Rosewood. To where in the movie, the white guy said, wait a minute. That ninja has a ninja, you know what I mean? That ninja has a piano and I don't. That uppity ninja. I'm just check it out. Check out Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, and that's what occurred after slavery, and then Reconstruction, and then you know, Black people were actually participating in government, and there were some setbacks, but now that we're in 2025, I believe if that were to happen, we're just like, okay, fine, all right. But again, by me being a Buddhist, well, not me being a religious Buddhist, no, but just in the middle, I think we have a good shot to where, and this is just simply me just saying we have a good shot to where things will be okay. And I could be wrong. But then again, I believe it could be, as a content creator, I believe it could be okay. So, Trump, anti-segregation, gone. DEI, gone. So, what are your thoughts? Please like, subscribe, put something down. I would like to hear your thoughts on it. And on that note, I want to thank you for stopping by.